Okay, this video is to help you prepare for your end of the year exam. You should have your study guide in front of you so you can take down some notes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to explain each question a little bit and then I'll say, okay guys, write the following down. So don't start writing until I tell you. The first question is about the Torah Shebaal Peh, that is the oral law. What is it? So again, don't write down now. The oral law refers to the explanations and the details that were given to us at Har Sinai, and these are the information that we need in order to be able to do any of the mitzvahs that are mentioned in the Torah. The Torah, as you know by now, does not contain all the information needed to fulfill the mitzvahs. For example, when it tells us to do a mezuzah, all it says is Uchzaftam al mezuzos beisecha visharecha, write the mezuzah on the doorpost. But it doesn't tell us what it is, what to write, how exactly to put it, and so on. So all that information is found in the Torah Shebaal Peh. So now get ready to write. What is it? It is the details and the explanations that are necessary for us to fulfill the mitzvahs of the Torah. Number 2, when was it given to Bnei Israel? It was given to us at Har Sinai together with the written Torah, with the Torah Shebaal Peh. So you don't have to know the date, but you just should know that it was given at the same time. Number 3, why is it called Torah Shebaal Peh? Because Torah Shebaal Peh means that it's oral, and it was that way that it was transmitted from teacher to student. It was not written down. It was memorized and studied Baal Peh orally, and that's how it was learned. So what you should write for number 3 is, it is called the oral law because it was not written down. It was meant to be kept orally and given from teacher to student. Number 4, why was it written down? So you remember that at the time of the Romans, when they conquered Eretz Israel, they destroyed the Beis Hamikdash and they persecuted the Jewish people. They did not allow them to study or to do any of the mitzvahs. So it became very difficult to study. And because of that, the Chachamim were worried that it would be lost. So what you need to write for number 4 is, the Romans persecuted the Jews and it made it difficult for them to study the Torah. And therefore the rabbis were worried that the Torah Shebaal Peh would be lost. Number 5. Okay, so what was written down? So again, don't write this down. What people jump to answer is, well, the important things. Well, that's not true, because everything in the Torah is equally important. So what was written down is like this. Write the following. That which was in danger of being lost. Why only that? Because really the Torah Shebaal Peh was not supposed to be written down. It was supposed to be kept orally. So therefore they were not free to write everything. They had to limit it. Okay, number 6, this is different than number 2. Number 2 was focusing on when it was given. Number 6 is, when was it written down? It was written down, write the following, in the year 200 CE. CE means the Common Era, which means about 1800 years ago. Number 7, by whom? By Rabbi Yehuda Anasi. Now what that means is that he was the editor, meaning there were many hundreds and hundreds of Chachamim that participated in the writing, but it was Rabbi Yehuda Anasi. He was the main editor. He's the one who organized. So that's the name that you should remember, Rabbi Yehuda Anasi. Okay, let's talk a little bit now specifically about the Mishnah. First of all, what does the word Mishnah mean? So write the following. It means teaching. The word shanan means teach. Like we say in Shema, Veshinantam levanecha, you shall teach him to your children. So the word Mishnah means a teaching. A teaching of what? Of Torah Shebaal Peh. Number 2, how many sections? So we know that the Mishnah is divided into 6 sections, right? Shisha, Sidrei Mishnah, you should know the number is 6. Number 3, the style of the Mishnah. So these are some things that will help you with learning how to figure out a Mishnah, how to understand it. So we know now that the Mishnah has several parts. We know that every Mishnah has a case and a din. We also know that some Mishnayos have other parts. Some of them mention the speaker, some of them mention the reason, and some also have a title. So it could be up to 5 sections, but every Mishnah has at least 2 parts. We came across something called a Stam Mishnah. And why is it written like that? So a Stam Mishnah is a Mishnah that does not mention the name of the author. It's an anonymous Mishnah. Why is it written without a name? To show that this Mishnah is the opinion, that everybody agrees with the din of the Mishnah. So again, it doesn't mention the author in order to show that everybody agrees with the din that is mentioned. What is a Tanakama? So Tanakama means the first opinion. When a Mishnah has more than one opinion, so the first one is, if it's mentioned without a name, that's the Tanakama. Tanakama is the first opinion. Okay, now we'll get into some skills that you should take away from this year as you move on. What is a case? A case is the situation or the topic that the Mishnah is talking about. How to identify a case? So these are some tips. These are some things that we practice throughout the year. For example, a case is usually written either in present tense or past tense, meaning it already happened or is happening now. And it does not tell us to do or not to do something. It's just describing a situation. For example, it might say that somebody found scattered money, or somebody found an animal, right? Found, past tense. But it's not telling us what to do or what not to do. So that's a case. Number 3, what is a din? The din is the law that applies to that case. How to identify a din? How can you tell if something is a din or not? So first, if it's telling you to do or not to do something, or it's in the future tense, meaning that's what you should do, or uses words like, for example, chayav, patur, or eilu shelo, belongs to him, right? Words like that tell you how to deal with the situation of the case. Number 4, how to divide a Mishnah. So in your exam, you're going to have an unseen Mishnah, at least one, which means that I will give you a Mishnah and will ask you to divide it. You're going to be able to apply your skills that you have already learned. So how do you divide a Mishnah? So you know that before a case, when a new case is starting, or when you see the din, and after the din you stop, or you see a speaker, or if you see a key term, like for example, you see the word shenemar, or if you see words like o, or, im, if, like we've done recently to practice. Okay, now what is a braita? So a braita is something that we're going to find in the Gemara. So what is a braita? A braita, write the following, is just like a Mishnah, except that it was written outside the yeshiva of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, and it's written also in Hebrew, just like a Mishnah. Number 4, what is the Gemara? The Gemara explains the Mishnah. Because again, we saw before that the Mishnah is written very briefly, it doesn't write everything. It couldn't. They were not allowed to. So they limited what they wrote. So what is the Gemara? The Gemara is the rabbi's explanation on the Mishnah. In what language is it written? It's written in Aramaic. Do not confuse that with Arabic, but Aramaic. What does the Gemara deal with? Like, what does the Gemara talk about? So it talks about, for example, this line just leave blank. What is the source of the din for the Mishnah? When the Mishnah mentions a din, the Gemara will ask where we know that from. That's the Gemara's discussion It explains the Mishnah, right? Like it says, for example, when does the law apply? Who are the Tanaim? The Tanaim is a title that is given to the rabbis of the Mishnah and the Braita. Tanaim are the rabbis that are mentioned in the Mishnah or the Braita. Amoraim, those are the rabbis from the time of the Gemara. What is Rashi? So Rashi is a commentary, meaning he explains the main text. The main text could be the psukim that we're learning, or in our case, the Mishnah or the Gemara. And he answers the questions that he expects the student to ask. What is a dibur hamathil? So dibur hamathil means the beginning words. These are the words of the main text that Rashi is explaining. Meaning, if Rashi is explaining a pasuk, so he'll quote 1 or 2 or 3 words of the pasuk and explain them. If Rashi is explaining a Mishnah, he'll quote a word or 2 or 3 of the Mishnah and explain them. Dibur hamathil is like the title. So for dibur hamathil, right, these are the words from the main text that Rashi is about to explain. Okay, so this is the first video, and we'll stop here and I'll prepare another video to study the rest.